We are beginning my venture into the life and times of Marvel villain cum hero, Radiation Dude. This is New Thunderbolts issue 9, a story spotlighting the newest member of the team, Radiation Dude. It also resolves long-standing subplots about SeaWorld and SeaWorld attacking. We have a Wallace Gromit cover, but not Wallace Gromit interiors, unfortunately. I have often sung the praises of recap pages, and now here we have a wonderful example of inventive and useful recapping. This first page is a recap page, but it is part of the story. It is Radiation Dude thinking about his past and talking to Mark, whose real name is Abe. We have useful images of 2 ad comics which features more on one of those soon. But something to establish is one of the main retcons to Radiation Dude. In the 90s, Jason Byrne said that Seaman's often irrational and conflicting attitudes across the year was due to an imbalance of oxygens, related to him spending either too long under the sea or too long out of the sea. We do the same thing with Radiation Dude in a roundabout way, maybe more sensibly. We are saying that his inconsistent motivations, his level of evil, and his past moments of redemptive behaviour are due to unstable levels of radiation he has built up inside of him. As Jason Byrne did in the 90s, with Radiation Dude, we present this idea and instantly have a solution for it. It's a way to basically say, yeah, some of the past characterizations cannot work with the idea of this person being in any way noble, honourable or heroic. I'm not done on how much I love this recap page yet. What we get is an extra page of comic, that's what it boils down to. We get some script that we wouldn't. We get acknowledgements and references to little things like Radiation Dude and Mark, real name Abe, had actually been on a team together before. Something that would be in the back of some of our minds, but never really relevant enough to bring it up in a story. It's not the only intro page like this in the series. It might be New Thunderbolts that is responsible for my love of a good recap page. The art for this issue is by Cliff Richard, a man who claims he sells more records than Elvis Presley, despite Cliff Richard having limited success outside of the UK. Also definitely a nonce, despite what keeps getting deleted off his Wikipedia article. Radiation Dude is fighting Seaman. There's backstory and reasons why, and we also have my most hated trope of all time, which is the story is a flashback being told to us. But due to the strength of the writing, it is not annoying me that much. Radiation Dude is a Marvel villain, one of their hardest villains. He was one of the very first supervillains Thor came into conflict with. Issue 93, if I recall. Probably off by one, though. He was created by Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby, but that one was written by Leonard Bernstein. The Thor series was originally not one that Stanley Lee cared enough to write himself. Radiation Dude was a Chinese national in the days of communist China, or rather, the days of communist China being openly acknowledged as evil and oppressive. It pains me to think about, but I have a gut feeling that Radiation Dude's origin might have been shifted over to Kurt Busey's imaginary bullshit. China, wishing to have their own superpowered agent, similar to Thor, allowed Radiation Dude to experiment on himself, and he bombarded himself with radioactive energy, and now he became a giant battery that could manipulate radioactive energy. He went west and battled Thor and was unsuccessful. He quickly got a chance to try and redeem his loss by becoming one of the original Bastards of Evil in Avengers issue 6. Since then, he was a common but infrequent bad guy who would go up against the Avengers and Iron Man, but never actually Thor solo again. Hello, story potential. There is a lot more to his history, but we are going to be looking at some of it eventually. Radiation Dude, he comes out of New Thunderbolts as a hero. Of all the Thunderbolts, Song Girl, Mark, whose real name is Abe, Atlas Man, and Radiation Dude, they are the only members of Thunderbolts, excluding actual heroes like Hawkeye. They are the only ones who, by the end of their time with the team, they are without a doubt heroes and accepted as heroes. We have a great story here. This is starring Radiation Dude, but we get just enough of the rest of the team that it doesn't feel like I am deprived of them for a whole issue. Speed McGee and Joss Sticks, who get left behind at base, they get a page here where they get to join the battle with Seamen. Right, quickly, there's backstory. We're 9 issues in. One of the major ongoing subplots has been SeaWorld attacks, or rather, terrorists from SeaWorld attacking. This issue is tying off and resolving that plotline for us. As you will have experienced from my channel, I have a pretty solid memory. And when it comes to reading comics, for me, the more times I read a comic, the more crystallised in my memory it becomes. The more I remember, the more definitive my memory of it becomes. It's the same for everyone, I would assume. First time I read this, for example, I will have remembered Radiation Dude and SeaWorld. Second time, it'd be the ending, probably, and so on. Every time you remember something else. A good comic like this is one that I keep coming back to, and I'm still finding things to be impressed by. Even going into this issue knowing it is all about Radiation Dude, seeing little bits with Speed McGee and Joss Sticks, this was such a good title. Seaman and his Seamen, they have arrived to battle the Thunderbolts because Radiation Dude appears to be responsible for a radioactive plague that is affecting the Seamen. So far in the title, Radiation Dude, he came aboard in issue 4. He was sent by China to help the Thunderbolts protect the United Nations building. That in part was tied to the SeaWorld attacking thing. Radiation Dude finds America disgusting and doesn't want to be here, but his country have ordered him to stay in America and serve with the Thunderbolts as kind of an ambassador for China, a Chinese representative. We later find out in Nokia Engage's run, the reason is that China are fearful of Radiation Dude. They would rather him lose control of his powers in America and kill Americans than in China. We waste no time learning that he is responsible for the sickness that is sweeping through the seamen. He wanted revenge and justice for an attack on Beijing that killed thousands. One thing that I think shocks me every single time is how dark this is. Radiation Dude, I said, he becomes actually heroic. And this issue is dark to the point where you have to wonder if him being heroic is even viable. The issue explores that exact idea, but after it, a lot of the darkness that we have here is pushed aside. They did a Radiation Dude mini-mate, but he was in his containment suit from Warren Fallis's run, and I suppose Nokia Engage's run as well. And you know how disappointing that would be for a fan of New Thunderbolts. Well, they bloody did it so that you can remove the top off and have off a classic Radiation Dude. They gave you the alternate arms, but the problem is the bottom off. So here we go. What you'd think would be the hardest to find is the easiest. The translucent green legs. I have never found a skirt piece for them, but it doesn't look too bad with just the crotch piece. Problem is though, the boots. They have never done a green variation of Captain America's Buccaneer boots, and that is what we fucking need. Radiation Dude's relationships with his teammates are one of the most compelling things. He hates America and Americans, and now he's on a team filled with them. He generally respects Mark, real name Abe, the team leader. He listens to him, and really there is respect there. He later develops a really close friendship with Songo. Him and Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, they sort of have a... I don't know, they're kind of friends. The rest he is neutral on, although he doesn't think too badly on Captain Cold as per his thought balloons. Captain Cold is late. He shows up to the party late because Speed McGee punked him and tied him up under a bridge. Half of the team, Mark, Radiation Dude, Atlas Man, and Captain Cold, they are going with Seaman to SeaWorld. I love that Captain Cold goes with them, allowing him some breathing space away from Speed McGee, and letting him operate without Speed McGee belittling him or making him feel like shit. Watch my review of New Thunderbolts issue 8. I talk about their great toxic dynamic in that. We also have Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, and the design here only appears in this issue really. Don't worry, it is on model. He was a discount Captain Atomant at the time. But what's unique is the bracelets, the magic bracelets that I cannot name because in my accent it does just sound like that word. Whether or not Genis-Vell was still wearing them is a bit of a mystery at this point. It's never addressed, but Cliff Richard draws him wearing them in this issue, and I am so desperate for a mini-mate of Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, that I had to settle for making this, which is sort of the Cliff Richard version combined with fucking Bill son of a bitch. I have one more mini-mate to show later, and it's not Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau, although we do have one of her. I feel bad because it seems every issue of New Thunderbolts has this subplot where the two Captains Marble, the real ones, Monica Rambeau and Genis-Vell, are fighting over the name. Just by chance, I looked at issue 8, which had her finding out Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, was back on Earth, so I talked about it there too. It's not a good subplot. it's not flattering, it's pointless. And that is why there is little of it when it comes down to it in this issue. I love this bit with the team all being in awe of SeaWorld, except for Radiation Dude. But then his inner monologue exposits that he too finds it impressive and a beauty. Down in the bottom of the ocean, we meet Tura Luraye, an odd Seaman supporting character. She comes from the Kenny Everett era. Steve Gerbil, I think he was scripting. She is an alien, the supposed last survivor of her race, although in the Starburst crossover we learn of another. This is, or was, it still might be, her last ever appearance. Tura Luraye has been installed by Seaman as the new leader of the terrorist faction, a means to try and distill and curtail their violent attacks by now controlling them. Radiation Dude isn't happy about this. He wants all the terrorists dead, and he is completely unsympathetic to SeaWorld's plight, all the innocent seamen that he is allowing to die to achieve his justice. Seaman tries the dying baby trick, and Radiation Dude even thinks to himself how it is a manipulation tactic. He is completely cold and detached from what he has brought about. Meanwhile, we tie off that stupid plotline with the Captain's Marble, the real ones. And then Song Girl is looking into David Tennant and what part he has played in recent events. This is a big plotline the book was building to. And look at this cover. That is the only time Wallace Gromit draws Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, with those bracelets. The Thunderbolts try to convince Radiation Dude that he cannot let all these people die, and Captain Cold gets a little chance to shine by creating a giant ice partition to separate Radiation Dude and Seaman, who are at the point of violence again. Ultimately, Radiation Dude, he seems to have a change of heart, and he reabsorbs all the energy that is causing the plague. And he leaves, never revealing his motives or why he changed his mind. In the present, which is fantastically written stuff, we have Radiation Dude talking about how many people's death he is responsible for. We don't get a number, but the implication is that it is ridiculously high. A wonderful bit where he says Mark, real name Abe, he paid penance for murdering one person. Mark did his time. He went to prison. He atoned for it. Radiation Dude couldn't do the same because the amount of death on his conscience is too high to ever possibly atone for. Then we have the dark ending. Radiation Dude didn't actually cure SeaWorld. He instead created a more specific type of radiation, slower acting, and exposed Tura Luraye to it with the intention that she will take it back to the terrorist group and it will spread to them and no innocents will be murdered. We never hear of it again. When reading this, I started thinking he might be bluffing to Mark, real name Abe. There is an earlier line in his narration where he says he doesn't need them to die. He needs them to be afraid. He needs SeaWorld to know that he could kill them all anytime. That their fear of Radiation Dude and what he is capable of will be enough because it'll stop any retaliation. Over here, David Tennant is about to get rapey with Song Girl, because that is all he really uses his powers for. But then, she is saved by my favourite character in the title, Swordman, the son of Baron Hydra. Oops, spoilers. Here is the actual answer to why I got into collecting Minimates. It is the only line where they made this version of Swordman. The character has been buried since 2009. No chance they are ever going to do a Marvel Legends figure of him. My preferred look for him though is unhelmeted. All the hair and stuff, separate piece. The helmet just goes on top like that as well. I actually still didn't get to talk about half the stuff I made notes to talk about. The fact that Marvel had Radiation Dude back as a villain in the fucking background and never referred to his time on Thunderbolts again. That might not seem too offensive after this issue, where he is still quite villainous, but everything that comes after this shows him growing and becoming a noble and honourable hero. Great issue, 1 week bit, but really good reading. 7 thumbs up on the Geiger counter.